Hello, everyone. My name is Anae Agostini. I'm with CID Insurance Programs, and I want to welcome you today to our webinar on keys to writing contractors like a pro. We're lucky enough to have Teresa Cochran, our contractors underwriter specialist, here to talk about and teach this webinar for you. I also want to introduce Jacob Cole, who's our marketing coordinator who works behind the scenes to make everything run efficiently. So let's get started with logistics. Of course, many of you have taken our webinars before, so you know that you will be defaulted to mute, but you will be able to hear, but not speak. But your voice is really important to us, so please pose questions into the chat room, and we'll stop throughout the webinar and answer them for you. And of course, we've got a short survey after the webinars, so it will pop up, and we would really appreciate it if you would take that survey because it really helps us do a better job for you. So what is Teresa going to be talking about today? Let's go over the objectives. So there's lots of types of contractors out there. So she's going to spend a little bit of time, digging into how you can identify different types of contractors, and of course, you will learn the important underwriting criteria for all of these types of contractors. It's important to understand what coverages are needed for contractors, so that you are making sure that you're insuring them properly and they have a confidence level in you. And then the other factor is really to understand how contractors are rated and what really affects that premium, so that you always get the most competitive premium and ensure the proper exposures for the contractors. So without further ado, I'll turn this over to Teresa. Welcome, Teresa.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Today we will be talking about artisan contractors and general contractors. I believe most of us know who general contractors are, but some of you may not be familiar with the term artisan contractor. So here is a short list, but certainly not an all-inclusive list, of all the different artisan contractor trades. Most artisan contractors will specialize in 1 to 3 of these trades. So let's say a contractor contacts you for a quote. What types of questions do you think you should be asking to not only pre-qualify them as a good account to go after, but also to understand what their business is? These are also questions that are running through my head when I'm looking over a new submission received from you, to see if it's something that my carriers may have an appetite for. So what types of trades are they performing? Are they licensed? Each state is different, but in California, Colorado, Oregon, and Washington, you need to be licensed for most trades. But maybe in your state, a plumber, an electrician, or a landscaper doesn't need to be licensed. This is an easy thing to research online through your contractor's state licensing department. If they are supposed to be licensed, but they haven't gotten around to obtaining that license, then it'd probably be best to pass on the account, since most carriers are going to require them to be licensed. At least this would not be something we could consider for you. Okay, the next thing we need to know is their size, the size of their operation. Is the owner the only worker? How many owners are there? What are their annual sales and employee payroll? Do they hire subcontractors? Are those subcontractors insured? If the subcontractors are not insured, some carriers may pass on the risk, while others may allow you to include them under employee payroll. If the subcontractors have their own insurance and the subcosts are 40% or more of your client's operation, then we would be looking to write them under the general contractors program rather than under the artisan contractors program. It's a misconception to believe that when your client has a general contractor's license, that they are going to be rated as a general contractor. My markets mainly rely on annual sales and subcontractor costs to determine if we are rating a risk under the Artisan Contractors program or the GC program. A few other questions to ask is, are they performing new construction, remodeling, or maybe doing a little bit of both? Are these being performed for commercial and or residential clients? We have carriers for both new construction and remodeling, whether it be commercial or residential. But these answers will help determine which markets we can go to. Also knowing if they have had prior coverage. Are they a new venture? Or maybe they've been operating without coverage. This information will also help determine if we have a market available. For instance, it is tough to find a market to write new construction tract homes, condominiums, and townhomes, or concrete foundation work. Fire and water restoration is another one. So if they are a new venture or have been operating without coverage, it's going to make them even harder to place, and it may not be the best risk to go after. I understand it's hard to pass on a potential client, but we're all really busy and need to be efficient with our time. So contacting 10 different wholesalers to find a market for a hard to place risk without prior coverage may not be the best idea for you. But if they have had coverage, it may be easier to find a carrier or two that will consider those hard to place risks. So the more information you can pull from your client, the better, because it will help you and myself figure out if it's something we can find a market for, and it'll make the quoting process go even faster. I put together a few examples of different types of contractors that we can go through. The first one I have is a smaller risk where the owner is the only worker. So he does not have any employees and he does not have any subs. He's an HVAC worker installing heating and air conditioning units into new homes. He's had a lapse in coverage, so he's currently without insurance. And the general contractor that he will start working for is requiring him to get coverage. This means that they have a contract together. So as their agent, you would want to get a copy of this contract so you know exactly what coverages your client needs, in addition to any additional insured endorsements that may be required. Receiving a copy of this contract will help to avoid any last-minute quote revisions. I can't tell you how many times I release a quote and a broker will come back to me with general liability limit changes or needing to add a special wording additional insured endorsement. So let's try to be efficient and know ahead of time what is being required, so you only need to present one quote to your client with everything they need. As you are looking through the insurance requirements of that contract, you see that they need $1 million per $2 million aggregate general liability limits with primary and non-contributory wording, a waiver of subrogation, a completed operations endorsement, and additional insured endorsement in favor of the general contractor. These special wording endorsements are pretty standard nowadays. I'm sure you've seen them. So most carriers will be able to offer them to your client. There may even be a contractor's bundle or an extension endorsement that includes these special wording endorsements. It just varies by carrier. Some of these carriers may not be able to offer the completed operations endorsement due to the client's new residential construction exposure. So if you have any questions on endorsement, please feel free to reach out to me to see if it's something that our markets can accommodate. And just as a reminder, please type any questions you have into the chat room. I will answer them throughout the webinar. The second example I have for you is one owner with $86,000 in employee payroll, $35,000 in insured subcontractor costs, and $250,000 in annual sales. They have a general contractor's license which is great that they're licensed. However, like I mentioned before, the subcontractor costs must be at least 40% or more of your client's operation in order to be considered under the GC program. So due to their annual sales being 250,000 and sub costs at 35,000, we're still going to consider them under the Artisan program under the Artisan Contractors program. This client let us know that they have had no prior coverage, which is fine. We write these types of risks all the time. They are offering residential kitchen and bathroom remodeling services. And we made sure that they listed out all the trades that they are performing and noted that the plumbing work is being subcontracted out to an insured subcontractor. It's very important to list out all the trades that the artisan contractors are performing, because that is really going to help wholesalers and carriers when they are rating the risk for you. A good tool is using a contractor's application while collecting information from your client, because it's really going to help you gather all the information, making sure you're not missing any piece of information. So they tell us that they're looking to obtain $1 million per $2 million aggregate GL limit with a blanket waiver of subrogation and a blanket AI endorsement in favor of their clients. This is all very standard and a risk we can definitely offer terms for. So now let's switch over to the general contractor side of things. As I've mentioned, most carriers require general contractors to subcontract at least 40% of the work being performed. The questions you want to ask your general contractor client are very similar to the questions we went through earlier in the webinar. How many owners are there? What are their annual sales and subcontractor costs? Do they have employees? Is your client licensed? Are the subs being hired licensed? And are they adding our client as the AI onto their policy? Are they involved in new construction, remodeling, commercial and or residential work? Have they had prior coverage? Are they shopping around looking for, better premium, better pricing, better terms? Have they had any lapse in coverage, or are they a new venture? All of these will help determine what carriers are available to them and if we have the right market to take them to. So in this general contractor's example, there are 3 owners, no employees, $1.5 million in insured subcontractor costs with annual sales of $3 million. We are at 50% in sub costs, so we can definitely consider them under the GC program. They have a few years of prior coverage, and they're doing a mix of new and remodeling residential work, along with remodeling commercial work. They're looking at getting $1 million, $2 million GL limits with a blanket waiver of subrogation and a blanket AI endorsement for their clients. They also need $1 million in excess liability with BPP coverage, business personal property coverage, for supplies stored at their warehouse, and inland marine coverage for a few large pieces of equipment and miscellaneous tools that they take with them to different job sites. In a perfect world, it would be nice to have all these coverages with one carrier, but you may end up presenting 2 or 3 quotes in order to cover all these exposures, because the carrier that offers GL coverage may not be able to offer the excess coverage and so on. These are all coverages we can help you place. It just may not be with the same carrier. So the example we just went over, they were looking for property coverage. It may not be something you thought contractors would need, but most contractors own tools and equipment that they carry with them to different job sites. Here are some property coverages that you may want to offer to your artisan and general contractor clients. The contractor's equipment provides coverage for machinery, equipment, and tools as well as mobile agriculture machinery and equipment. Some types of equipment include tractors, front-end loaders, bulldozers, tools, and other equipment that is mobile. We can go up to $250,000 per item, up to $1 million per schedule. We can offer up to $50,000 for miscellaneous tools and equipment, and $250,000 in coverage for rented and borrowed equipment. There is also inland marine installation coverage. That is important when your client is trying to cover machinery, equipment, and materials that are kept on site or at another location close to the job site that is fenced in during the course of installation, renovation, or repair. You see this a lot during ground-up construction where there's a fenced-in lot and you can see a bulldozer and stacks of building supplies. That's when you would want to recommend installation coverage for your client. Some important things to know that most contractor claims occur as a result of work performed, which is why it's important for them to carry general liability coverage. While the contractor's faulty work may not be insurable under the GL coverage form with most carriers, the resulting damage from their faulty work is covered for bodily injury and property damage. So if your client repaired something incorrectly, the carrier may not pay to fix the poor workmanship, but they will cover the resulting damage from that faulty work. So for example, you have an HVAC worker installing an air conditioner, and after it was running for a few hours, the water started leaking from the unit, causing water damage to the surrounding floor area. The water damage would be covered, but the contractor would be responsible for repairing the AC unit. Some carriers do offer a faulty work endorsement that can be added to a GL policy, but some do not.
There is a question, Teresa.
Oh, okay.
Do you have any marketing materials that will help this broker get more of this business?
We do have some marketing materials available. If not on our website, we do have them, and I'm sure Jacob would be more than happy to get those out to you.
Jacob, do we have a contractor's piece that's customized, that can be customized?
Yeah, we have a couple on our website. If you go to cidinsurance.com, it's under broker tools. We have a little marketing library. There should be at least one or two contractors' marketing flyers on there where you can enter in your own agency information and then save it and do as you wish with it, whether you're posting it online or using it in your proposal presentations or things like that.
And Teresa, interesting. What are you seeing? Because the economic environment is forever changing with businesses and how they're being affected. And I'm curious, what are you seeing that maybe the strongest classes of contractors that you're writing a lot of, and being successful with?
Right now, I've noticed a lot of handymen. So, the people doing small odd-end jobs that are $500 or less, a lot of small jobs like that. And electricians, seen a few of those, and the remodelers, people remodeling either their bathrooms or their kitchens. We've been seeing a lot of those lately. And as far as the coverages they've been looking for, obviously the handymen, they're just doing the small jobs for residential clients. So they're just looking for the bare minimum, maybe just 1 million, 2 million limits. But some of these electricians, some of the remodelers, they're all looking for excess coverage in addition to their GL coverage.
Oh, that's good information, Teresa. There's one more question. what are the differences between Artisan contractor coverage and GC coverage and premium differences for same coverage?
Okay, so when we are the coverages are going to be the same. It's the same ISO form for both the artisan and the general contractors. Some of the forms will be different, which I don't have a list of the forms here that I can show you the differences, but your GL form is going to be your GL form. As far as the premium goes, yeah, there's definitely going to be a difference. Some carriers rate the GCs on sales rather than payroll. And the premium is going to be different with the GCs because general contractors are subbing out a lot of the work to insured artisan contractors. So there's less of an exposure on the GL side for a general contractor because they're pushing all of that exposure onto the artisan, the insured subcontractor. So the GC premiums, depending on their size and depending on the artisan contractor size, the GC could be a little bit lower in premium because the subs are doing all the work. I hope that answers this question. If you want to go more into coverages, feel free to call or email me, and I can show you some of the different endorsements that are on the artisan form versus the general contractor's policy form.
Great information, Teresa.
So on another note, if you have any submissions you would like to send over, please email them to submissions@cidinsurance.com. This info will also be on the next slide. We would be looking for an Accord 125, 126, and a contractor supplemental application for GL coverage. If you don't have a contractor supplemental application, we do have them available on our website, cidinsurance.com. This application can be used for both general contractors and artisan contractors. And if you already have a contractor sub app on hand that you completed, by all means send that over. I'll work off of whatever you have completed. And if they need coverage for mobile tools and equipment, we do have our contractor's equipment application available on our website. And if they need coverage for their business personal property that is kept at their office, we would need an Accord 140 completed.
Excellent. One more question for you, and please explain the cross suite exclusion, IA policy, and does some carriers cover cross suite losses? Is that suit? I'm not.
I am not sure. I don't know what a cross suite exclusion is.
It could be cross suit.
Cross suit.
I think
I don't know if you
he
want to
just
touch.
messaged again. He said, sorry, lawsuit. I think it's what he meant, not cross suit. Might have been a typo.
Oh, so please explain.
I don't know if you can touch on that, N.A. I'm not a cross lawsuit.
He said when one insured sues another insured.
I think we need a little bit more specifics about the scenario that he's talking about, because if you're talking about two contractors suing each other, that it really would depend on the whether there's that carrier has an exclusion or not. But I don't have enough information to be able to go in depth and answer your question. But if you wanted to email Teresa with that question a little bit more depth with a little bit of background, we'd certainly work to get you an answer. And so great job, Teresa. Good information. I want to thank everyone for joining us. Make sure you visit our website, cidinsurance.com. Teresa's ready to help you out with any contractors quotes that you need. And also take a look at our upcoming webinars. And then we have so many recorded webinars that we're on coverages and classes classes of business. So please take a look at that, and you can share that with other employees in your office. So thanks for attending, and we look forward to doing business with you. Bye, everyone.